was about 12 years old, I had started to get a really weird feeling, like I was being watched all the time. I would catch glimpses of a large man in a black robe out of the corner of my eye. After about a month of this, I was tucked into my top bunk. I remember being terrified to go to sleep. I kept making excuses like I needed water and I need to use the restroom, and I didn't. I remember brushing my teeth, but my mom finally told me to go to bed. I slept under my covers because I thought it would help me not feel like I was being watched, and it made me feel safe. After I fell asleep, I had nightmares of a man in a black cloak chasing me through the woods. I would turn another way and he'd be right in front of me. Everywhere I turned, he was there. He got closer and closer until I could see his icy eyes and sharp mouth. He grabbed me and I screamed, surrounded by nothing but blackness. When I woke up to the feeling of falling, I was actually falling off my bunk and I hit the floor. I looked up at my bed and saw the man from my dreams looking down at me. I screamed, waking my mom and my brother. I was sobbing when my mom ran in and held me. Now I feel like I need to tell you, my bunk bed was not unsecure. It was one of those ones that had a rather tall barrier to make sure no one could fall off. So I couldn't have climbed it. It just didn't fall. I was thrown off my bed. Since that day, I have protected myself with runes from my religion, and my aunt put a blessing on me that should keep the evil at bay. I can still see him from time to time. He isn't as elusive anymore, though I'm very worried that he's waiting for the day that the protection wears off. So when I was younger, we lived in a huge, double-wide trailer court. At least 100 trailers separated by rows of roads, big enough for one car. My window faced the street, so if my dad heard a noise, he'd come out and look out my window. Anyways, I was still young at this point, and it was late at night. I had to use the bathroom, which was diagonally across the hall. I left the bathroom door open because I didn't want to turn on the light, but I still wanted to be able to see. I heard a knock on my window from the bathroom. I was confused. I thought I was hallucinating, so I finished up in the bathroom and climbed back into bed. Someone knocked on my window again. I went to check, moved my sparkly purple curtains out of the way, and there was a lady standing there, really mousy looking, light blonde hair, wide eyes, maybe like 25 years old. She asked, "Is this the Hill residence?" And I said, "No, we lived here for 6 years." And she said, "Okay," then left. I couldn't sleep after that. A really sad, sick feeling took me over, so I left my bathroom door open to wait for my dad to wake up. When he did, I went out to watch the news with him, and the girl popped up on screen. I don't remember the name they gave because I was honestly so scared, but the news said she'd been missing for like 2 weeks and was found dead. I told my mom and dad she knocked on my window, and he told my mom, who looked it up on the internet, and proceeded to tell me, "Karina, she didn't knock on your window. She's been dead for 3 days according to this article." "No, Mom, she definitely knocked on my window." When I was 8, my mother's friend invited us to our local apostolic church. My parents at the time had an addiction problem, and life just wasn't going too well for us. So my mom decided to take up the offer and go. It was just me and her that day. As we got to the building, I kept slowing down because I was a bit timid to be in a place where I didn't know anyone, but I had no choice. As we walked inside, there was a band playing and everyone was standing up and singing. I also noticed a few people jumping up and down with their hands and eyes closed, but I tried to ignore it. We went into the rows of long wooden benches and found a spot to sit, but at that moment, I noticed some people talking and tongue while jumping. At that moment, my mom stopped and suddenly ran outside. I wasn't too sure what to do. but I seen her friend who invited us run after her, and another person came up to me and said, "Don't worry, your mom will be back." I was scared regardless. Would you be? After a couple of minutes, I seen people coming back into the building. Then I seen my mom, who was being helped by 3 people. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. But when I seen my mother, I was terrified of what she was doing. She looked extremely upset, ignoring the fact that she just tried to leave me there. They started struggling and pinned her against the back door with a glass window. Everyone in the church at this point had our attention. People started praying for her and talking in tongue. As I just stood there watching what I thought my mom was being attacked, I froze. I couldn't understand anything, but as soon as I knew it, my mother started yelling out nonsense. She started snarling and mumbling things under her breath. After a minute or two, they started forcing her to sit down next to me on a bench, and as she sat, I noticed everyone from the church was surrounding us, praying and speaking in tongue. My mother's head lowered, and she started rocking back and forth. Then she shouted, "You can't have her. She's gone and she's mine." I wanted to get away, but so many people surrounding us made it impossible. I wasn't too sure what to do next, so I did what everyone else was doing. I put my hands towards her, and I figured maybe the power of her son could stop this thing, whatever was inside of her. And as I slowly lifted my hand and did the best I could at what I thought prayer was at that time, she suddenly stopped rocking. Her body became stiff for a moment, then her head slowly turned in my direction, and she was now staring at me. But till this day, I don't know if it was my mother in there. Her eyes were pitch black, her skin was like leather, and she had a grin on as she was letting out this weird loud noise. I just couldn't make it out. I was then when I realized I had to force my way out. I was so scared. I started screaming and clawing my way out the circle. I ran to the back of the church and saw a chair, and I just sat and cried for as long as I could remember. My brother showed up at some point, and I remember he was crying when he came to get me. As we were walking out, I seen my mom, and she looked better, but I couldn't look at her without freaking out for a few days. Nightmares followed after. Till this day, I will never forget what happened, and I will never know for sure if it was real, if it was a result of her addiction. My mother's friend dad used to clean graves at the cemetery for a living. He used to take my mom's friend to work with him, and she said she had a scary experience with him while working one time on Dia de los Muertos Day. She said there was a grave at a far distance up on a hill that looked like nobody had ever visited. A woman approached them while cleaning the grave, asked them to please go clean the grave. That's what happened to be dirty and forgotten grave that was up on the hill. The woman paid them in advance and tipped them so good. So my mom's friend and her dad went to go get some tools from the truck. When they went back, the woman was gone and nowhere to be seen. Well, they started cleaning the grave and started getting a weird feeling. They went to go toss the trash in the trash can. At the bottom of the empty can was a picture. The picture so happened to be of that woman that approached them. But not only that, as they're cleaning this grave, they see the picture of the deceased, and to their surprise, happened to be the fact of that woman that approached them to clean the grave. They were so scared, they left some of their tools just to drive off as fast as they could. She never, ever, ever went again to work with her dad again. Back in 2005, when I moved to Minnesota from Wisconsin, my friend also had moved to Minnesota for school. One weekend we was hanging out and we had made plans to go back to our hometown to visit friends and family. So that Friday came and he came to pick me up around 9 p.m. We got into town around midnight. He said for me to just go with him to his girlfriend's house to sleep there, and he would take me to my parents' house in the morning since it's late. I was like, sure, that'll be fine. So we go to his girlfriend's house and hung out in the basement and had a few beers and a few shots. While we were hanging out, we decided to go outside and go smoke cigarettes. He led the way, and I followed him. Before going up the stairs, there was a little room. I guess it's like the laundry room. Anyways, at the corner of my eyes, while walking past the room, I saw an older lady in a late 1800s Victorian-style dress, bending over as if she was picking up a basket. The hairs on my head, arms, and back of my neck stood up. We continued the stairs and out to the backyard. As we're smoking with our back towards the house, I kind of felt that someone was behind us, so I turned my head to the left and saw the same lady pacing to the back porch. This whole time, I didn't mention nothing to him. I didn't want to scare him. After we smoked, we went back inside and down to the basement. We finished our beers, and he said it's 3:30 a.m. and he gonna hit the sheets. So I said, where am I going to sleep? He said, you can sleep down here in the basement. I was like, damn. I was thinking to myself, if I should tell him what I saw in the little room and outside, but I decided not to. He came back with a blanket and pillow. I told him to leave the lights and the stairs way going on. So I turned a little lamp by the armrest of the couch on and covered my head with the blanket. A few minutes later, I felt something moving on my head and pillow. So I freaked out and peeked through the blanket, and it was his girlfriend's cat. After finding out it was just a cat, I was at ease. The cat stayed with me until morning. The next day, after his girlfriend made us breakfast, he took me to my parents' house. On the way, I told him what I had saw. He said to me he felt weird, as if he felt that there was something there. Looking back at that, it was probably just a harmless ghost, or imprint of the lady that probably passed away in the house. When I saw the lady pacing the back porch, like she was waiting for someone to come home, I like to think that it was a lady waiting for her love to come back from war, or something of that nature. I don't know. But this is a true story. Although when I first saw the lady in the little room in the basement, and my hair stood up, I wasn't scared though.